Looks good. Okay.
All right. I stopped my share, so that way it's back on you.
Very good. Thank you, gentlemen. Let's see. So
Hi, John. This is Eric Taylor from DOT.
Yeah. Okay. Glad to have you aboard. We're just waiting on a few more folks to show up so we have a quorum.
Hey guys, Mike Thrasher with Toad is on.
Hi, Mike. And,
Afternoon.
someone else that just joined us, who I didn't recognize, but it's probably from Jacob, perhaps. Rachel, who are
Yes.
you?
This is Rachel Steer. I manage public involvement at Dell. We're working with Jacobs and DOT on the O'Malley to Diamond project.
Oh, okay, excellent. Thank you for joining us.
John, Microsoft Teams Live is on, so this is up for the public now.
Okay. Oh, okay. So, yeah. Well, so Joe, you might just explain that, you know, we do have public access, so you know, keep the swearing to a minimum. Yeah. Thank you, Christine. Well, I didn't expect this many this many people to be on the call, but
that's how popular you are.
That must be Mr. Lyon. Good afternoon, sir.
I do.
So yeah, we got a cast of thousands. And
adding by the moment.
Yeah, so Doug is joining us. Let's see, he's in the lobby.
Hello, thank you.
Okay, hi, Doug.
John, long time no see. How are you?
I know, it's been a very long time. I'm well, thank you. You?
Good, thanks. Thanks.
Good.
I'd say that's a quorum, I think.
Let's see. Well, I can count. There's Joe. Rick Heath, Dan Smith. I lost track. That's 3. Doug Thompson, 4.
Better take your shoes off, and you can add.
Okay. We're going to try this again. Joe. Dan Smith, 3. 4. I think we still need 2 more.
Wow.
We need 6, right?
Hey,
Yes,
you got Mike Thrasher there?
Oh.
You got Mike?
I don't see his name on the, unless he's, maybe it's
He's
a
the
phone
call-in number with last 2 digits 62.
Yeah,
oh, okay, so that's 5. And then, okay.
Who's the 249-6200 number?
That's
Richie, I'm showing twice because I'm using my phone for audio.
Yeah, no problem.
yeah, thanks, Rich. Yeah.
We're getting used to this world. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. There are a lot of people to scroll. 5. You're right. I think maybe we're at 5.
I think that's the count I have. Yes.
Okay. Can we get the agenda back up on our screen?
Okay.
I don't know how to do that.
Let's see.
Oh, there's Terry Lindseth. There's our 6th.
Okay. Can you see now?
Yep.
Yeah, we can see it. Thank you.
Perfect. And I think we have 6 since Terry just joined us.
Oh, good. Hi, Terry.
Hello there. Sorry I'm late.
No worries.
No problem. So we have, Mr. Chairman, we now have a quorum.
Well, with that, then, thank you very much, John. I will call this meeting to order at 3:03 on November 4th. To start off with, John, would you do us the favor of a roll call?
Absolutely. Okay, Joe Michelle.
Present.
Okay, Dan Smith.
Present.
Okay, Doug Thompson.
Here.
Rick Heath.
Here.
Jimmy Doyle is excused. He had another commitment. Brian Lindemood. I haven't heard from Brian. Mike Thrasher.
Be present.
Bob Sherrill is also excused. I believe he's out of town or had another commitment. Steve Rebuffo texted me, and he will be about 30 minutes late. He had another meeting, so he will be here shortly. Terry Linseth.
Here.
And then Darren Prokop.
No, Professor Prokop. Okay.
All right. And then we have a multitude of guests. Let's see that I can just go through so everyone knows. So Sean Baskey is from DOT. Walker Ryan Harris is with DOT. Catherine Hensley works with Dan Smith. Hi, Catherine. Travis.
Hi, John.
Travis Holmes with DOT. Aaron Jonganilan is with AMATS, helping us out. Craig Ryan, I think everyone knows. James McCurtain is with, I'm not sure.
With Jacobs.
Oh, okay, sorry, Jacobs. James Potts.
I'm with Jacobs as well.
Jacobs as well. Okay, Rachel Steer, she's with Dowell, I believe.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Michael Robinson.
I'm also with Jacobs.
Jacobs, okay. Christine Schutte is with AMATS, doing the behind the scenes, keeping everything going. Let's see. I'm going to ruin this name, and I apologize. Is it Titania Spate? Okay.
That'd be Tatiana Spike, and she's with DOT. She's on our team as well.
Oh, okay, great. And I apologize for mispronouncing.
Oh, no problem.
James Starzyk is with DOT. Eric Taylor is with DOT. And I think that's it. And most of those folks, the DOT folks, Dow and Jacobs, are available for the presentations when we get to that point. So
Thank you, John. The next item on the agenda, would you be willing to do the public announcement?
Absolutely. So AMATS committee meetings are open to the public, and the public is provided an opportunity to comment at each meeting. Business items are presented by staff or consultant. After the committee discusses the business item, the public is invited to formally comment. And that's the public involvement announcement.
Thank you, John. Before we do approval of the agenda, I would like to make a motion to add a presentation by DOT. Mr. Eric Taylor will be kind of outlining the future plans of the freight plan the newest freight plan that we'll be putting together. Could I entertain a motion to add the DOT presentation by Eric Taylor to the agenda? Terry, Mike, Richard, anybody just say, yes, I move so?
I move. Yeah, I move so.
I'll second it. So excellent. That's will be added to the agenda after Mr. Sean Baskey and DOT's presentation. Can I get an approval of the agenda?
I move to approve.
Second.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Since we're doing it virtually, and I don't necessarily always recognize everyone's voice, can you just identify who made the motion and who seconded?
You betcha. Sorry about that, John. This is Terry. I made the motion to approve.
Okay, thank you, Terry.
And I seconded it, John. It's Doug Thompson.
Doug, okay, great. Thank you so much. It really appreciate that, and that will be helpful for the helpful reminder for the consultant teams as well, because most of you I've never met, I don't know, so it'd be helpful if you do identify, if you speak, if you'd identify who is speaking. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. This is Joe Michelle, Chair. May I get approval of the August 12th, 2020 minutes?
This is Rich Heath, I move.
This is Terry. I second.
Thank you very much, Terry. This is Joe Michelle. Moving to item number 5, business items. These 4 items are things that I just wanted to kind of go over with the committee moving forward. They're very loose. It's more a lot of planning for the upcoming meeting in February. The first one, item A, is expected actions of the Freight Advisory Committee for 2021. What I wanted to do is notify the Freight Advisory Committee that I was going to try to take an active role in getting the members information in regards to both AMATs and to some degree DOT when they're participating within the AMAT structure of projects that are much earlier in the design and planning stages of things versus when some things come to, public comment for projects. By then, in my humble opinion, that's about 3.5 years too late. So what my goals will be for 2021 for the Freight Advisory Committee is for us to have, weigh in on projects and have our general, resolutions and comments about certain projects and us weighing in, to the same degree and maybe not with the same intensity, but with the same frequency as some of the other not policy committees, but lower committees that are involved in AMATs, specifically, the pedestrian and cyclists or any other things of that nature. So when we meet again in February, the members will have information from that they'll be able to study long before the meeting in regards to projects that we'll be weighing in on and putting our 2 cents in after we go back to our respective companies, and the people that are out there on the road will be able to make comments about it so we can relay those to the AMATs, in a timely way. I really want to have the Freight Advisory Committee weigh in on as many projects as possible that, are within our realm. I don't plan to go outside our realm and make comments on things that will not be affecting any of our, freight corridors or things of that nature. But if it's within our corridors or within our work scope, I definitely want to weigh in with as much weight as possible. That being said, is there any comments on that, or if anybody has any issue with, kind of the workload that I'm going to be putting on this Freight Advisory Committee? I don't think I'm not planning to take too many hours of your day, but I definitely want to have this committee a little bit more involved than they were before.
This is Rich Heath. No, that sounds great. Honestly, most of the time when we see projects, it's more of, here's what we're going to do, rather than, well, what do you think about what we're going to do? It's just right up in advance. Here's the thing you're going to have to deal with, and it would be nice to be in front of it a little bit more.
Thank you very much, Richard. For the record, I'd like to welcome Mr. Rebuffo from the port to the meeting. Welcome, Steve.
Mr. Chair, this is Craig.
Thank you, sir. Apologies for my tardiness.
Go ahead, Craig.
Yeah, oh, sorry, I interrupted the colonel there as he was trying to excuse himself for his tardiness. But I did want to let folks know that we are, along with this Teams meeting that we're using, Microsoft Teams, we also have a Teams live broadcast going on, which is what the public, if they're so interested, are able to dial into so they can listen to the meetings. It's typically a listen only sort of thing. There are 2 people on there, and staff is moderating that. So if they do have questions, we'll be able to connect to them. But I just wanted the committee to know that the public, that's how they're able to listen to and participate in the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Lyon. Moving forward to item B on the business items. Once again, this is Joe Michelle, Chair. Is a very loosely listed item, but what I wanted to put on everybody's agenda to start with is I wanted to put together a survey of problem intersections that we are currently experiencing within the Anchorage Bowl. Just an informal survey of the members, if anybody would be willing to get back with me on things that your drivers or you've heard that are current intersections that are having problems, that I definitely would like to start getting an active list together for the record and for us just to identify as we go into what we'll see later on in the agenda as far as the upcoming update to the freight plan. So that's just to put it on people's radar, that definitely get back with your personal driver, with your individual drivers, and start identifying intersections that we definitely need to start addressing in this freight plan. Moving to item C, overview of governing documents. What I wanted to do is to kind of update the members and make sure everybody understands, because I needed some clarification when I first started after taking over the chairmanship, on what exactly the governing documents are for specifically the Freight Advisory Committee, and just, things. It definitely takes some trivia to understand what, AMATS is doing and how that relates to the TIP and how that relates to, different plans within the AMATS plan. I was going to throw that to John, but at the same time, Craig, if you wanted to weigh in, and or if Aaron, because Aaron set me straight on a few things in regards to the MTP 4040 already being a done document, and we were actually working on future documents. I thought, the MTP 4040 was still an open thing that people are making amendments to, and that, I was completely off base. In fact, that, there were no amendments to the MTP 2040. That actually had to do with, the STIP and things of that nature. First off, John, would you be able to just to kind of talk about some of the governing documents, and anybody else from AMATS, feel free to weigh in at this moment in time.
Yes, absolutely, Mr. Chairman. So you've kind of stolen my thunder a little bit, but there's just to back up, as I think most of the committee members know, the most current document that we have for the Freight Committee is this the Freight Mobility Study that was completed in 2017, and that outlines the role of the committee and some analysis of freight issues locally, of which one of them is the bottlenecks on some of the freight corridors. And so there may be additional ones that you folks identify above and beyond what's already in here, but I would also mention that those projects that are in here that have been or are being included in the TIP, which is done on an annual basis, and Craig can, or Aaron can jump in here too if they want, but that's how we get to those projects is through the TIP, and like I said, the document was completed in 2017. I can send a copy to anyone if they don't have one already. All of the committee members should have a copy of this. Okay, the second document that's really important to the business of the committee, again, is I think hopefully all of the committee members know, is the 2040, which is the current MTP, which is the Metropolitan Transportation Plan 2040. That was just recently completed as of, say, early this year, I think in September, October timeframe. And Aaron Young-Nealon is getting set. He's the project manager for 2050. And the 2050 plan is it's a 4-year plan that goes out, looks out 20 years. And there is a freight component in this document and 2050 plan that we'll definitely, we being staff, will definitely want to have input from this committee about. And, the 2040 plan got started before I came on board AMAT, but Vivian Underwood and Aaron at the time they completed that freight section. I believe it was brought to the committee by my predecessor, and we'll be going through that process again in the ensuing period of next year or two as we try to get the 2050 update completed. So those are really the two major documents that everyone should be at least passingly familiar with. Again, there are projects, as I explained to Joe when he came on board not that long ago. There's projects identified in the MTP, and again, that includes freight components. So that's how you influence the process or get your input into the process, is through both of those. If there's a decision to attempt to update the mobility study, not that it's completely out, but if there is, then that will need to be through the TIP process, and we can talk about that more in more detail later. Unless Craig, you want to jump in and talk about that?
Talk about updating the freight mobility study?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would guess that it's not something we could have funds for updating for a little while, because it's only 3 years old. And I think if memory serves, it was about $250,000 last time. And the biggest challenge that we had there was coming up with the match for it. So that is not something I would foresee, unless they were minor updates, unless there's something in there, that really needs to be tweaked or gotten out of there. I would guess we don't have the funds to update that anytime soon.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Craig. Sorry, go ahead.
This is Joe Michelle. Aaron, did you have anything that you wanted to kind of toss in there as the coordinator of the MTP 2040? That's not a small document. Congratulations on that.
Well, thank you. Yes, this is Aaron Yonganalen with AMAT, Senior Planner. And a lot of the credit has to go to Vivian Underwood, who recently retired for the 2040 MTP. She did a lot of work on that. So, but I do just want to emphasize the importance of the 2050 MTP when we get started on it, especially in light of a lot of the comments we heard on the 2040 MTP were about major changes that members of the public want to see to freight specific roads or roads in our community that are very freight heavy and vital to freight. So I'm glad to see you guys are taking an interest in it, and I will be coming back to you, I'm not sure when, but at some point, to get your input on improvements you would like to see or other things like that. So thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Aaron. Moving on to business item D is member additions to the work plan before tentative meeting of February 10th, 2021. And this also could be covered under, committee comments, but I wanted to see if anybody who's, has been on this committee, longer than I have, wanted to put something before the group and or, give everybody a heads up that, that we should be talking about. That way, John and myself have a chance to, do some reviews and make sure that we have a proper presentation or, some information for you guys to discuss coming up on the February 10th meeting, which is, I know a full calendar quarter away, but at the same time, just, surprise anybody want to add anything to what we're going to be doing in February or want to put something on our radar right now. Feel free to contact John or myself in regards to putting items on the February plan or things, and that would fall under, the survey of problem intersections as well. I just want to make sure, you guys know that, and you men and women know that we'll be actively trying to put together, a proper package for you guys coming up to the future meetings. So there will be a little bit of homework before the meetings, but nothing too labor intensive. There aren't any other comments or additions to the work plan for February, when we were going to go through informational reports, Michelle McNulty, unfortunately, was not able to attend this meeting. She has to be pushed to our February meeting. We discussed with Michelle, as the Municipality of Anchorage Planning Director, she was going to outline some of the projects that are in the very beginning stages and things that, would be identified from their point of view that we need to start paying attention to, but we're going to be working offline with her and be ready for the February meeting. That being said, without any other additions from Mr. Lyons or John, Sean, would you like to take over?
Sure, sounds good to me. Am I coming through all right?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, and then I'll do a screen share so you guys can see what I'm seeing. So first off, thank you to the committee for allowing us to come in and share about the project. We've had a number of interactions and coordination with you guys in the past. I think our first meeting was back in March of 2017, so we've got a long history of working with you guys. Some very fruitful discussions about a number of the paths that you guys would potentially be taking with some of your larger vehicles and other things that we wanted to make sure to accommodate. But so thank you for all of that effort in the past and anything that you guys have got to help us improve our project moving forward. So this project is the third in a series of projects. So the next project after that Diamond to Dowling section that got done here recently. And so it's basically taking a 6-lane divided section from the O'Malley interchange over here on the left, all the way north to Diamond. And so I think some information was passed out before, so you guys could have potentially have looked at it. But a lot of what you saw on the previous sections would be proposed on this project. In previous discussions, we discussed a number of the great improvements that we've got going on to help out a lot of other different interest groups, from pathways and sidewalks and other things. We can surely talk about all of those things, but I think you're probably more interested in what we've got going on with a number of our interchanges and other things. We previously discussed the Diverging Diamond interchange that we're going to be constructing as part of the O'Malley interchange. So feel free to interject as well if you guys have any questions. And so this would be the same style of interchange that you'll see over there on the Muldoon interchange, where basically you hop over to the other side of the roadway. We've got a very draft version of a video that kind of shows the movements and other things. And so I can show that. And basically, you can see that the operations, just like over at Muldoon, have you sliding over to the other side of the roadway and then returning back to the correct side of the roadway. There's a lot of great things about that, and we're excited to have some increased and better operations as that gets constructed. Are there any questions or concerns about the Diverging Diamond interchange?
Hey, Mr. Chair, I do have one question for Mr. Baskey. This is Dan Smith.
Yeah.
So if there was a load proceeding either north or southbound that could not cross that bridge, is there ability to use the ramps and get through and proceed in the same direction that the load was going?
Okay, so the question was, if we're going north or southbound, would you be able to use the ramps?
If the weight of the load exceeded the capacity
the weight
of the bridge,
load exceeded, right?
And you needed to use the ramp, are you able to get through?
So one thing when it comes to a Diverging Diamond interchange is you're not able to move through the middle of the interchange. So one accommodation that we did at the Muldoon interchange was for some oversized loads going along the highway. We put in some options under flagging and other, operations, and I think you'd have to remove some bollards and some other things to get some of those kinds of heavy movements through. That's not currently proposed as part of this project. At present, you would have to find another route around it along probably Old Seward Highway or something like that. If that's an anticipated issue that we need to address, then that's why we're here.
Hey, Sean, this is Steve Rebuffo. Is there any reason why this was picked versus the roundabouts? Was it the type of traffic that frequents this area here that this accommodates better?
Sure. The department looked at a number of different interchange configurations in this area. Roundabouts, even there's a bunch of planning efforts that were done a number of years ago that looked at roundabouts and some other things. There were some concerns about certain movements and backups onto the highway. This style of interchange, now that we've got it up and going in Alaska, is what we're proposing because of some of the cons associated with some of the backups and some other things. But we did look at roundabouts for sure.
I should say thank you. I appreciate that. I'm not married to one or the other. I was just curious. Thanks.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, and Sean, maybe as a follow-up, I think it would be important to have some removable barriers, if possible, to get through with certain loads. There's probably more of those than people realize, where we're having to use the ramps along this route currently.
Sure, and we'll go back with the team and take a look at things. One thing I neglected to say is that we're basically at around 95% design on the project, and so we just progressed to that level. So we're getting fairly advanced in the design, but that doesn't mean that fatal flaws can't be addressed. And so one of the main things is to come here and show you we have taken into account a lot of the questions and concerns that you guys had before, and just like we're talking about now, if there's anything that we need to address as we move forward before we get this on the street, let's do that for sure. All right, so that kind of covers the diverging diamond interchange. One of the main things is that obviously we've got a heavy trucking route heading eastbound up towards the hill, and then that big left turn movement to head northbound. And so this becomes a free left. You wouldn't have to sit at the signalized intersection right here. I know just in my vehicle, trying to shoot some of those gaps as people are coming down the hill are difficult at the best of times. And of course, you get the green arrow that allows you to move through at other times. But this will greatly improve a lot of the operations in the area, we think. And of course, we've got 12-foot lanes, for some of these major movements. So. Then we, of course, incorporated some striping to give, all of those big truck movements the option to get through.
Sean,
all right.
Sean, this is Joe Michelle.
Sure.
Do you, off the top of your head, know what the height of the bridge is for traffic that would have to go underneath, and/or what the weight rating on a bridge like this would be going across?
I'm not sure. Well, let's start off with, we're not replacing the bridge, so the bridge is existing, and then I do not believe we've got the rest of our team here that can probably help answer a lot of these more detailed questions that me as the project manager might not have all of the answers. But if I'm not mistaken, I believe that we're not changing any of the heights of the road or the elevation of the road, and so any of the current loads that would get underneath that bridge would be able to in the future. I don't hear anybody correcting me.
This is Joe Michelle. Would somebody from your team, and this is existing information if you guys aren't, changing the structure of the bridge or the height, but if somebody would be able to get back with me so I could distribute to the committee the current height and the current weight load for that bridge.
Yeah.
Might have to contact DOT about, but if you guys have it off the top of your head, it'd be great to have.
Yeah, we can certainly get the height, and then we'll have to reach out to our bridge section to determine what the load criteria are. Ultimately, I don't want to speak for them, but when it comes to overload restrictions and things like that, I think they want to know what the load is once you get over, highway legal, so that way they can analyze it. They're not going to tell you specifically what load is allowed over it, because really it becomes a combination kind of thing. What's your wheel combination? What's the spread, between the wheels, all of that, before they can make those determinations. So you're not going to get a, X number of pound load can go over any specific bridge. But we can certainly reach out to them and get back to you on that.
You're absolutely right. It was kind of an ignorant question on my part, but if you'd have somebody reach out to me, because we can use that as some of the examples of the existing trailers that the existing companies that would be traveling across there would, what they'd be using. So it would just go check with the individual companies from the members of the Alaska Trucking Association. And yeah, it's not as simple a question as I just kind of blurted out there, but it'd definitely be worth it to me to check with the member companies that would be crossing it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, and it's a great question, because ultimately we need to make sure that we accommodate what's going to be traveling through the area. So, and by one means or another. All right. So I think that kind of covers the diverging diamond interchange, unless we've got anything else. All right, so let's hop further down the way. So we've got a roundabout proposed at the Scooter and Academy intersection or interchange. So if we were to go back to the scroll plot, so as we're moving north, eventually we hit Scooter. And so that's where we've got the existing on-ramp and off-ramp to feed over into Old Seward. And from our previous meetings, we had talked about potential operations, skipping out on the O'Malley interchange and then hopping in over here at Scooter, and then having a route to get you over here to the Abbott intersection and then hop back onto the highway. And so we had a lot of those conversations about, making sure that we accommodated those vehicles. We've kind of got our special sauce when it comes to roundabouts now, and so this implements a lot of those same characteristics. We'll have the truck aprons and other things, and then here's kind of an overview in that video of how it would look in the future. I don't know if you guys wanted to cover any questions or concerns about the roundabouts, but it's more of the same really when it comes down to it. And with that second lane heading from the west and popping over to the east really allows some additional room for major trucking movements to get over into this area. Hearing no questions.
Hey, Sean, Dan Smith again. Just for sense of scale, is there other roundabouts in town that are the same dimensions as what you're showing here? That are we talking about like a 70-foot wheelbase truck when you say the vehicle could make it through there that might be a little bit larger?
I'll have to get back to you on that. What I can say is that the Department of Transportation has kind of standardized our roundabouts. You know, C Street roundabout is a little bit different than a lot of the, you know, C Street Minnesota is a little bit different than a lot of the other ones. But when it comes to single lane and 2-lane roundabouts, you know, we're 2 lanes here for a portion of it. We've pretty much standardized these things, and so any of our modern roundabouts that we would have put in, you know, kind of have these same dimensions. We're not really, you won't see any of the Dowling size roundabouts or any of those other things. And then we're pushing a lot of the local jurisdictions. So the Matsu Borough, you know, whenever they're putting in roundabouts on our system, we're making them comply with our same kind of thing. And so just generally around the region, in the central region, you're going to see a lot of the same thing.
Okay, Sean, thank you. You answered my question. I'm sorry to step on you there. You answered my question. I didn't want to point out the other roundabout, but this is a solution. So thank you.
Yeah. And just to be clear, on the Dowling Road roundabout, the department has another project manager that's working on that roundabout, and that's another project that's coming in to fix a lot of those things. All right, which kind of leads us over into the Diamond Interchange. And so at some of the previous meetings, the department had proposed to put in a diverging Diamond Interchange at Diamond, and we've since removed that, which may alleviate some of the comments and concerns that we've had in the past about some of the things going on there. But the one thing that we are proposing to do is to add some pedestrian and bicycle safety improvements due to a large cluster of crashes with pedestrians and bicyclists in this area. And so we reached out to the Freight Advisory Committee, I think through Joe, to try to get comments on you know, a number of the things that we're proposing here with this right turn pocket, and then, you know, kind of a bypass through here. And we made sure to accommodate the vehicles or the trucking movement there. You'll have to slide out into the leftmost lane, but outside of that, I think we've received some comments and then adjudicated or gotten through some of them and alleviated some of the fears associated with that potential improvement at that intersection. Were there any questions about the Diamond Interchange? Other than that, you won't see many differences from what's out there today.
This is Joe Michelle. When you guys reached out to the Alaska Trucking Association in regards to this, I just wanted to express my gratitude from my members that you did ask. There were multiple people that weighed in and thought that was a good improvement for the trucks that were making a right onto Diamond. So thank you for that.
Yep. Yeah, and so just to be clear, we had a dedicated left lane, and then there was a through left and right lane shared, and then a dedicated right. And so we're removing that through left right, and that will become you know, its own lane, right? And then you'll only have one right turn lane, which we've looked at, and we can get all the vehicles through that intersection. So we don't anticipate backups that are too significant. Outside of that, we've got some minor improvements moving north just to tie back into existing. So you'll see 6 lanes of traffic, just like we see north of here, carried all the way to the O'Malley interchange. One of the major differences that people traveling through this area will see, of course, is that there's no on-ramp onto the highway from Diamond. And at those previous discussions with the Freight Advisory Committee, we discussed the reason for that and any potential concerns that may be had about not being able to enter directly onto the highway. I think we addressed all of those concerns, and so I'm just making sure that everybody is aware that in order to get onto the highway, if you're coming from the industrial area over here, you'll have to go through the intersection at Diamond and then come all the way through the roundabout and then get back on the highway. With that, unless there's any other questions or concerns, we've certainly got a lot of information out there on our website. So at our sewardhighway.info with a lot of information. If you're interested in more detailed information, we've got our 95% plans, all 500 pages of it out here on the website. If you want to go poke around at any of that. My team is here to answer any additional questions. You've got our contact information. Our contact information is there on the website, so you can feel free to reach out to us. We've got a project mailing as well, so you can sign up for email lists. But outside of that, that's all we got on the project.
Sean, thank you very much.
I think there might be one thing that I missed as far as, when is this project coming? It's largely dependent on availability of funding as we move forward. So this is a STIP funded project, not an AMATS funded project. So it's in the statewide transportation improvement program. So I think it's projected out there in 2023 or thereabouts. There's potential opportunities to slip in here or there, out there that far in the future. The crystal ball is unclear. We'll just say that. But we will be ready when the funding is available, I believe. That's it. Thank you so much for your time.
Next up, are there any other questions for Sean? All right, next up, we have Mr. Eric Taylor, if you are available to start your discussions and notifications of what's coming up with the freight plan.
All right, thank you, Joe. Let me go ahead and share my screen. It's hiding from me. Well, that's not it. For some reason, I am not seeing my I'm seeing my presentation, but it's not queuing up when I do screen share. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me try something else here.
Looks like it's up now, or there's some presentation up.
I'm not sure where that's coming from.
Well, Mr. Taylor, while you're kind of working that out, we can jump back up the agenda to that. That way, you're not put on the spot, and you can just kind of look around to figure that out. Moving down to item number 7 is just committee comments. Do any of the members have any comments about the projects that we've seen, and or just to kind of go back up to the business items? Anything, like I said at the very beginning, I definitely want to have us looking at projects that, you know, are not at 95% design build, and it's going to take a little bit for us to clear out the backlog, but I definitely want us to be looking out on the horizon at projects long before they're, you know, proverbially put on the shelf waiting for the funding to go through to pull the trigger on. So if anybody has any of those comments, I will be receiving some emails from me in regards to projects that are on the timeline and on the horizon. One of the ones that I'm specifically looking at is AMATS and DOT are really starting to enter the very beginning preliminary stages of looking at the port and the roads leading out of the port into the downtown area. So that's something that I'm definitely going to be trying to put on people's radar sooner than later. That way we can make our comments long before it's just they're asking us for the, you know, the color of the railing that we want to put on. But we got a freight plan? All right.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. Okay, so thank you for allowing me to present today. This is all very, very early on in the process, so you got us at the right time. And let's see if I can advance the slides here. Okay. I basically wanted to give you a little bit of background and objectives, cover our RFP, and sort of give you a timeline for where we're going with this. This is actually the a combination of the long-range transportation plan and state freight plan, which is kind of how we did it the last time. Our current long-range plan is Let's Get Moving 2036. It was completed in 2016 as a policy plan and included a freight element. And then when the FAST Act got passed and changed the requirements for state freight plans, we discovered we needed to have a separate freight element implementation guidance, and that covered the necessity of ranking freight projects to be eligible for the National Highway Freight Program funds. So it was sort of an awkward way to do it, but that recognized the fact that our LRTP was a policy level and not a project level plan. So sort of mixing two different philosophies together. And so the state freight plan actually consisted of those two documents, the freight element of the LRTP, as well as the implementation guidance. And subsequent to that, we stood up some mileage, designated some mileage as critical rural freight corridors. Most of that is a chunk of the Dalton Highway. And then critical urban freight corridor, the Fairbanks metropolitan area did select some routes for that and nominated them. Anchorage did not, and I think primarily that's a result of the fact that the primary freight system covers most of the major freight movement routes in the Anchorage Bowl. So the status of the plan right now, in terms of our internal review, is that we opted to go with a performance-based plan. This goes right along with the federal guidance in the FAST Act. And one of the things we wanted to do with this one is continue the freight element inclusion. And we also wanted to implement a permanent freight advisory committee. The previous plan had one stood up for the plan, but then it basically stood down at the conclusion of the plan. And as I had discussed with John Cecil in months past, our idea for the Freight Advisory Committee this time around would be to build on the AMAT's Freight Advisory Committee and combine those. So we're looking at a lot of you being sort of dual-hatted in that role. And then we would also look at adding some folks to provide a more statewide perspective on some aspects of the Freight Advisory Committee. We look at the long-range transportation plan as a guiding document that informs and directs all of the other plans. And then again, we wanted to mention that whole idea of linking planning and project prioritization and programming. So you've got this performance-based planning and programming framework. It sort of ties all of our department planning together. The RFP status itself, we went out in September with an RFP and had proposals come back October 8th, I believe. We have gone through an evaluation process and currently have the award pending. But since we haven't actually given the award yet, I can't say anything about who that's going to, because that has to go through all the required legal hurdles before we can actually sign on the dotted line. But we are anticipating having that completed before the end of the month. Just to give you the timeline that we looked at in the RFP, again, notice to proceed, that's an estimate. We hope to get started December 1st with project kickoff meeting mid-December. Public participation plan out hopefully mid to late January. And then basically the consultant team would begin planning in earnest, transportation system assessment and data analysis. We've got advisory group meetings, TBD, because that's pretty much, depending on how the public participation plan draft comes out, and some other things that get discussed in project kickoff. But I'm anticipating, meetings with individuals and group meetings kind of in the March, April, May timeframe, at least initially. And then we would look at least 3 iterations of a advisory group for the plan, as well as the Freight Advisory Committee. And again, we're looking at a permanent Freight Advisory Committee, so we would look at that continuing well into the plan and beyond. We're looking at draft plan out for public review in early summer of late spring, early summer of 2022, with the final plan hopefully completed about by the end of August of 2022. So these are kind of sort of a sequence of documents that go into the plan. I mentioned the public participation plan already, as well as the transportation system assessment. We also include a financial analysis, the multimodal freight analysis, scenario review, risk assessment, and then performance goals and measures before we actually come out with draft plan documents.
Mr. Eric.
Yes.
This is Joe Michelle. How many people have submitted a bid for this RFP?
We had 3 proposers, and they were all, they were all good. It was a difficult evaluation to figure out who was going to get it.
Have you guys announced it?
No, that's kind of what I was mentioning before. Since we have an award pending, we can't say anything about who that's going to until we go through the required protest periods and whatever. And that's all. That's all the contractual procedure. Yes, multimodal freight analysis, and this is basically telling you what was in the RFP as far as what we expected in here. We're looking at incorporating the freight assessment framework data that's kept by Federal Highways, as well as other sources. It's a multimodal thing, so we're addressing all transportation modes. We wanted to look at critical nodes for freight transport. We, anticipate doing a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis as part of that. Another look at freight bottlenecks, constraints, and vulnerabilities of the system. And then, as you mentioned before, freight performance goals and measures. One other thing that's driving the state from the federal standpoint on performance measures is this required use of the National Performance Measure Research Data Set, which comes with the truck reliability measurement. And that generally focuses on areas of the road network that have some sort of inconsistency in terms of traffic flow. So it's an interesting index. We're not sure how useful it is, because basically anytime you have a hiccup on the Alaska highway system, if it deals with a construction project or an incident, that's the sort of thing that's going to, that's going to flag the data set and tell you you're not meeting your target. So, we're trying to figure out how can we allow for road construction to not negatively affect the overall index. But, at the same time, we're also looking at maybe some more practical freight performance measures that would, I guess you'd say better suited to telling what sort of freight performance we're getting, and that will depend on the input we have from users. We also wanted to address safety issues, permitting, enforcement, and of course looking at newer technologies. It may not be in the immediate future, but certainly things to keep in mind looking down the horizon toward 2050. Connected and autonomous vehicle technology and those sorts of things. And then we're also looking at coordinating with the MPOs so that we're developing, as a state, we're developing a priority freight investment list that everybody can agree to. So next steps, again, this month, intent to award and protest period. At some point, we'll, we hope to get the green light to negotiate with whoever we expect to get the contract and make the award, and then notice to proceed, hopefully early December. And that's all I had. I'll leave my contact information up there. Anybody wants to copy that down.
Hey, this is Rich Heath with UPS. So I had a question about that second to last slide. You said it's part of it's multimodal analysis, all freight, all modes of freight. Does that mean you guys are also going to be analyzing the air network within the state, Ted Stevens expansion, that kind of stuff?
Correct. Yes. Yeah, and a big, and then another big component is the maritime component.
Thanks.
Joe, this is John Sess. I just had a quick question for Eric, if I may. The public participation plan that does that envision, meetings online, virtually, as opposed to, face to face like we used to do it in the good old days?
Yes, Joe. It's. I think people are thinking pretty much, at least for the foreseeable future, we're going to be doing the Teams and Zoom thing for a while. But we also have to, looking at that, we have to get creative in terms of how we engage the public.
Correct, and I would just add that the planning department, I think, generally, in terms of public outreach and working with the public on a variety of different projects, ordinances, it's gone. I don't know what DOT's experience has been, but we've had, I think, a generally very positive experience, and also a lot of interest from folks. So I think this vehicle to get public comment is in some respects more convenient for folks because they don't have to rush from home or work to go to a meeting here. They can do it from the comfort and security of their own home, living room or office.
Yeah, absolutely. That definitely means people are more available if they have the technology to link in.
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. We got a slight echo here. I'll let you get off the main screen, Eric.
All right. Should be free now.
Thank you very much. Look forward to participating in that very much. With that being done, I move back down the agenda to any comments from the committee in regards to things that we've covered today or things that you would like to see in the upcoming meeting for February. Like I said, the members will be you will be getting information in regards to some of the governing documents that we covered under the business items, and also upcoming projects that are in early design builds. And we won't there won't be an expectation for the members to have comments on every single project that you'll be receiving over the course of the next couple of months. But I'd rather flood you guys with a bunch of information. That way, anything that might be flagged by your professional eyes, we'd greatly appreciate. That way we can focus a little bit further on it. With no more comments on number 7, number 8 on the agenda is upcoming meetings and events.
Joe?
Go ahead.
Sorry, this is John Cecil. I think after the committee comments is concluded, is the opportunity for the public to chime in. Is that correct, Craig?
That's generally when we do it, sure.
Okay. I will include that in future agendas.
Is there anybody from the public that would like to make any comments at this moment in time?
So this is Aaron with Christine. No one commented on wanting to comment anything, but normally what we do is when it's time for the public to provide comment, we have to give a little bit of a delay, about a 45-second delay between when you ask for the comments and when we can get the public to respond, because Teams Live has itself a slight delay between live and when members of the public see it. So at this point, no one has said they want to provide any comments on anything, but I don't know if you want to wait a little bit longer, see if anyone pops up.
Is going to be the longest 45 seconds of our day.
Well, it's probably like 12, 15 seconds now.
As we're waiting for that, I texted, not texted, but I made I was going to ask Mr. Lyon if he wanted to outline any, fireworks or any potential teasers coming up for the technical advisory committee tomorrow that might be worth paying attention to. It looks like there's a few agenda items that they're looking to approve as far as amendments to any tips and things of that nature. Any major things in regards to that, Craig?
Well, there is a resolution on the agenda tomorrow. It's something that came about from one of our policy committee members who's on the assembly. There is, I don't know if folks on the Freight Advisory Committee are aware of a thing called a PEL. It's also referred to as a PEL. It's a Planning and Environmental Linkages Study. And it's something that was started probably about 8 or so years ago. This concept, that is, a PEL concept, which was designed to speed up the process. As you know, the federal funds, what I always tell people is the federal funds allow us to harness a chunk of change to do a project, but it also means you're slowing down your project. If you have a bond funded project by the city, they can pass a bond in April and be paving in June. But with the federal funds, it's 7 to 10 years on a good project to get things rolling. So we have a planning and environmental linkages study that is connects the Seward to Glen Highway, and there's a resolution that's on the agenda talking about that. Obviously, that is a route that a lot of trucks go down, the Seward Highway and then the Glen Highway, and this is really talking about the area that's in kind of the Fairview area. So that's a resolution that's on the agenda tomorrow. Folks are welcome to dial in and pay attention to it on Teams Live. I don't have any idea where this thing is going to go because it came before the policy committee and they asked if the TAC had weighed in on it and they hadn't. And so it got kicked back to the technical committee for them to chew on it a little bit, I guess, talk about it, to give their thoughts. So fireworks, I stopped betting on what committees are going to do a long time ago. So I guess that's the update I'll give you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lyon.
This is Christine, and we have not had any mention of comments from the public.
Okay, thank you very much, Christine. With that, the policy committee will be coming up on November 19th, and that's just for the members' update. And I want to thank everybody for attending the meeting. I'm proud to say that we're doing this in about 1 hour and 15, which is a fairly good time. And with any other comments or any other updates from the AMAT support staff that are the experts in this thing, I plan to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Joe. From staff perspective, no, I think You've had a great meeting and some great presentations, and I'll be putting together some minutes for your next meeting in February 2021. We'll be releasing the calendar later, I believe towards December, and Aaron usually puts that together, and then once it's okayed, we can distribute that. So you'll be able to put those meeting dates on your calendar, and then I'll coordinate with Eric Taylor, about any, potential meetings that, from the state freight plan process. It may not exactly line up with the FAC schedule, but we'll try and make that work as best we can. And but so stay tuned on that. So that's it. Thank you.
All right. With that, I want to thank everybody for attending, and I hope you have a great afternoon. This meeting is adjourned.
All right. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, John.
Thank you. You bet.
Thank you.